something they have to give them, or anybody who asks them to borrow, they have to lend. How do you stop yourself from being that kind of person?
Asking questions. By asking the question, sometimes the person themselves change their mind, they don't want it again because you're asking too many questions. But when you go to the bank, that is one of the things the bank do. They ask you a lot of questions: how much you owe, who it is, how you're going to pay it back, and so on. Ask the person what is it they need it for, how do they plan to pay it back. And once you start getting into all of the nitty-gritties, what assurance would I have, and so on, then you can be able to determine, yes, this is a genuine case, because they are able to substantiate their need, and so therefore you could go. So, and once you do that, some of those people will fall off. Some of them you'll tell yourself, I could take my risk and lend this person. But lend knowing full well you are lending and you may not get it back. And if you don't get it back, you already braced yourself. You don't need to tell the person that you don't expect it back. But certainly, you brace yourself that you may not get it back. Right? But otherwise than that, it's just a risky business. And I don't think any insurance would want to cover that kind of risk. No, because it's really risky having to lend somebody. And the chronic borrower, yes? Yes.
Go ahead. The chronic borrower now.
The chronic borrower. If you don't have it, learn to do without. You don't have to have everything. There are some things that you think you need it, but you really don't. You can afford to say, well, listen, I really would love to have that dress. I really would love to have that shoe. This shoe that I have is burst, but there are still people who fix shoes. So therefore, let me carry this and pay a smaller amount and fix the shoe and rally it a bit longer while I amass the amount of money to be able to buy a new shoe. You don't need to go and borrow from somebody to buy your shoes. Nor do you need to borrow their shoes.
Yes. That is... oh, Michael, we've now touched something. There's some people, and I'm a little guilty, like, Monday, for those of you who look at television, not Monday, Wednesday, I had beautiful beads. And I was a chronic borrower there. A friend of mine had it, and I said, oh, that's going to look lovely on television. And after I said it 100 times, she took it off. She says, here, Allison, use it. And so Wednesday, I had it on. But, you know, that's joking. But there's some people who cannot see you with anything without what they want to borrow: your shoes, your handbag, your necklace, your earrings, everything.
Some time ago, probably might have been 2-3 years ago, I borrowed a tool from somebody. I was doing some repairs by me. And you know, this week, the person came to say, what about that tool I lent you? Now, I cannot even remember. I can't remember if I gave them back. I can't remember if the workers went off with it. But you know what that cost me? It was an old tool. I had to go to the hardware now and purchase a new brand tool costing $600 and something to replace a tool that I borrowed, that I could have bought myself and kept. Now I have to buy it back to give back the person I lent, and I don't have the use of the tool.
And you know you're not going to ask him to borrow it.
No, sir!
You know you're not. But it's learning to do without.
Yeah, really. Learning to do without. If you need it that much, try and get the money and purchase it.
And I find that there are a lot of people today, and this is where we have to be very careful, because there's so many people who have various forms of addictions, and that quite often they spin you this lovely tale, and you find out afterwards that yes, the money that you are going to lend to them or give to them, depending on how you decide to do it, it's money, yes, that will feed their family, but the reason they don't have money to feed their family is because they've gambled it away, or they've spent it on drugs. Or even people are addicted to having a good time with their friends. There are many adults who go out to restaurants and to bars and spend a lot of money and then get home and they don't have money to the school uniforms, but they're out partying.
Yes.
They're at cricket, they're at football.
Yes.
They're having a good time.
Living up a good time and living it up on borrowed money. But while we are in this plenty, let us learn to save so that when the rainy day comes, we have something to pull back on to say, listen, this is a rainy day, but I have a little savings that I can pull on. Our old people always taught us that, the rainy day money. In our old days, your grandmother would tell you she has no money and so on, but let a need comes up. She goes somewhere with a kerchief that she unties and she pulls out something and she was saying all the time she had no money. But that rainy day money was always there. Yep.
You know, you've touched a beautiful point there. When my grandmother died, she had sort of lived with her daughter, one of her daughters, one of my aunts, for a very long period of time, and she never worked since her husband died. So she was always there, and she had this little pension that she always had, and she always put aside money. Every month she went and paid for her funeral expenses, because she didn't want anybody to have that burden of having to bury her. And I do remember after she died, one day my aunt said, well, you know, these things do happen. She said she had a dream to go to a certain part of Granny's bedroom, and there she found some money that she had been putting aside, all the little money that she'd been putting aside for the rainy day. It wasn't millions, it wasn't even thousands, but it was something that she had pride, that she had that put away for a rainy day. Michael, you have been talking with us for a few weeks now about motivation, and I hope that, you know, it's just a sabbatical and that you will be coming back on the program very soon. In people who feel that they want to change their lives, there are certain rules and regulations maybe that you have to set for yourself if you are going to be motivated. You see, all of us have dreams, Michael. We wake up every morning and see ourselves thin in the mirror. Or you wake up and you see yourself not going out drinking every night, or not gambling, or even just being more productive. But as much as you dream and you want it to happen, the motivation, Michael, there's something has to ring the bell for you. What would you say in about a minute that you have? What would you say is something that you could grasp that will give you that motivation?
What is in it for you? If I want to lose size, what is in it for me? You see, you know, I've always had a problem with a point. Now that I'm into motivational speaking, something that I like, I need to stand up with a flat stomach.
You want that?
Yeah.
You want a nice little belly?
No. But I've been able to work on it now because I saw something of what it would bring for me. And so a lot of times we need to be able to look at what is in it for me. What is it I want to dream about? What is that job going to do for me? What is that job going to do for something that I need to do? How does it link into my dream? It is because once we have the dream first, then the action takes place. If I dream about a house, that takes me to the hardware. I don't dream about the hardware. I got to dream about the house. And I need to see how the hardware helps me to get that dream. And so if we have that dream, then we can lock into something that can be able to help us bring out that dream.
And it's very important that you said there, dream about it for you. In other words, for me. And dream about for me. It's not about doing anything to make somebody else happy in your life.
That's right. And it's not selfish to do that, right? Because they gain a better you once you have been able to achieve your dream. Yeah?
All right, let's just say that little message that you gave at the top of the program about lending.
I had my money, I had my friend. I lent my money to my friend. I lost my money and my friend.
And the next person who comes to borrow money from me, I'll say, didn't you hear Michael Stewart on TV? Michael, thank you very much. See you again soon. If you need to speak to Michael, you can call him at 688-5363.
But I'll tell you what I admire about you all. About speaking to a number of people who are car sales rep. When you look at it, and I sat down and I look at it, you know, it's a marvelous thing to have to sell a vehicle. You are dealing with some of the most prestigious brands. You deal with Isuzu, Mazda, you deal with BMW, you deal with Audi and Kia. You don't need to promote. You don't need to enhance your brand. You deal with a product that sells itself. Somebody else goes and purchases that vehicle overseas. Take risk. Import it into the country. Take risk. And then now store that vehicle. And as a salesperson, with a few dollars to spend on somebody to train you, with a few dollars to invest in yourself with some clothes to groom yourself and look good, All we have to do as salespeople is walk in, sell the product that somebody else took the risk for, and make thousands of dollars of commission. Ain't that something? And every one of those, when I spend for the training, it's an investment in myself. When I spend on my clothes, I get to keep the clothes. Not so? And then I turn around and make a huge investment and a huge profit. I'm saying no other job is as great as that. Notwithstanding all of the gloom and doom that you may have heard, notwithstanding all the issues of recession, all recession is that you do more with less. That is all. But it does not mean that with all of that, the things that are going on out there, that you cannot operate and perform better. And I would just want to give you a couple of acronyms that would help you to be able to achieve 2009 with the optimum as salespeople, as people who are going out there and really making your mark. Number one, and this is key, I guarantee you success for 2009 if you follow this. Number one, watch your philosophy, what you believe in, what's in your head. Watch the things that you really accept as being your principle and value. If you believe that you will not make it in 2009, you are right. But I will also tell you, if you believe that 2009 you can do better than you did in 2008, you are also right. It is what you believe in. It is what is in your heart. It is what you go after that is really going to make the mark. Two boys, 115, 110, were on a lake fishing. The lake was frozen, and the 15-year-old boy fell into the water, submerged, kept bubbling up, screaming for help. The 10-year-old boy, all frightened and nervous, ran back to shore, got himself a stick, came back, saw his friend, broke the ice with his stick, and rescued his 15-year-old boy. Dragged him out of the water to safety. The boy survived. The people in the village asked, how can a 10-year-old boy lift a 15-year-old boy wet out of water? It's almost impossible given the size of this 10-year-old boy. And somebody said, you know why he was able to do it? Do you know why he was able to do it? It's because there was no one around to tell him he couldn't. You hear me? The philosophy, what you believe. And sometimes, too many times, we fill our heads with stuff that tell us we can't. These people who have been awarded today, Christensen and all of the others who would have received awards, they had a philosophy. Every successful person has a philosophy. They knew they were winners before they won. That's how they are. And you must know that you have targets and you're going after your targets and make those targets before you even make it. Sometimes whenever I ask my children, how did you do in tests? I don't know, Daddy. I said, the chances are you failed. You must know before the person who marks your paper how you did in your exam. You did it, not the teacher. The philosophy, what you believe, what you think. Second, believe in the law of ratio. The law of ratio says, if you do something often enough, a ratio is going to appear. In batting, it's called the batting average. If you do something and you repeat it often enough, the ratio appears. Therefore, if I speak to enough people, I make enough contacts, I do the right things often enough, somebody is going to buy. There is no law that goes against that. That law is a principle that holds true. If you speak to enough people, you will get somebody buying, regardless how crooked the thing is that you're selling. Less more, you have a wonderful brand. You deal with something that is wonderful. And if you speak with enough people, people will buy. So when people say, we cannot sell, I don't believe that. I just believe we can't speak to the same number of people that we did in 2008. And I don't believe necessarily that we need to speak to the same people that we did in 2008. We probably may need to change the type of people, the group of people, the circle of influence that we deal with in 2009. So we must understand the law of ratio. But we cannot do it when we come into office and sit around in an office hoping that people will come to us. That may have worked in 2008. Trust me, it will not work in 2009. It's got to be more aggressive. We've got to be able to go out there and meet people. And the more people we meet, the better our chances of success. Therefore, I would invest in a ticket to a function that I know would have the type of people there that I could talk with. The type of people who will be in that particular place. One of the things that I've learned about fishing, in Tobago we do quite a bit of fishing. And sometimes I would listen to a fisherman saying, I'm going out and get chub. That's a fish. Oh, I'm going out and I'm going to catch snapper today. How does he know what fish he's going out to catch? He never set it there. And then I found out the secret. A good fisherman knows where different type of fish hang out. You get the message? A good salesman knows where the client who is right for his product hangs out. And therefore, he goes to fish in that area. I'm selling a BMW. The people who would buy a BMW hang out in this particular place. A good salesman is informed about that. That's why he has a profile on people. When he's prospecting, he knows the type of people, their tastes, their likes, their dislikes, and he's able to scheme that and be able to cook that down in such a way that he's able to reach the right people at the right time. That's a skill. That's why I like you people. Because you have a skill. So therefore, number one, your philosophy. Number two, the law of ratio. Number three, opportunities. Every one of us have the same opportunities. The same wind that blows on the successful is blowing on you. The same winds of adversity that blows on one man blows on you. It's not the blowing of the wind. It's the setting of the sail. When you are traveling and you are in a sailboat, don't quarrel about the wind. Set your sail. And that's why some